Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn hosted by Wavelogix. I'm Suzanne Florek, and I'll be your host today. We're really glad you're here. Today's session introduces you to Ryan Hornsey, Safety Director at Altounian Construction, and we're really excited to have you meet him. Before we jump in, a couple of quick housekeeping notes to help you get the most out of the webinar. First, we're recording this session, so don't worry if you miss anything. We'll send out the recording and any slides afterward. For the best view, we recommend using speaker view, which can be toggled in the right top corner of your Zoom screen. If you've got questions during the session, just pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We'll get to as many of them as we can during the Q&A at the end. And if you run into any tech issues, drop a note in the chat. Someone from our team is standing by to help. Let's start with a quick intro to Wavelogix and today's speakers. Wavelogix was founded in 2021 in partnership with INDOT and Purdue University. Our goal, to help make roads, bridges, and construction more reliable and less disruptive to build. Our flagship product is the Rebel Concrete Strength Sensing System. It gives you real-time, in-place concrete strength without needing maturity curves, and it works across all kinds of projects. That means better accuracy, better scheduling, and real-time savings. Now let me introduce Joe Turek, our CEO. Joe earned his electrical engineering degree from the University of Notre Dame and his MBA from Kellogg School at Northwestern. He's been in manufacturing his entire career, holds 5 patents in microwave telecommunications technology, and is a licensed professional engineer. Basically, he knows how to build things that work. And now, meet Ryan Hornsey, Safety Director at Altounian Construction. Altounian is based in Lake Bluff, Illinois. Founded in 1958, Altounian Construction has built its reputation on master craftsmanship, accountability, and long-term client relationships. Now led by the next generation of the Altounian family, the company blends old world values with modern construction management expertise. With the capabilities of a large general contractor and the responsiveness of a close-knit firm, Altounian self-performs much of its work through a team of more than 50 skilled tradespeople. This hands-on approach drives quality, efficiency, and consistent results. We're excited to have Ryan from Altounian Construction join us today to share his perspective and experience from the field. Ryan is a seasoned safety director with 17 plus years in construction, leading the development and execution of comprehensive health and safety programs for complex, large-scale projects. He's recognized for building proactive safety cultures and partnering closely with the executive leadership, project teams, and trade partners to achieve a zero-injury outcome. His experience spans risk management, regulatory compliance, high-risk construction activities, and workforce training, driving accountability, collaboration, and continuous improvement on high-performing job sites. So that's a very exciting introduction, Ryan. We're happy to have you here. So let's let the two of you dive in and take it away.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Let's do a little plug as a start for Altounian. Can you tell us a little bit about what Altounian does for the community?
Yeah, so like Suzanne mentioned here, we are on our 3rd generation of leadership here with Altounian. We specialize in a variety of different things, both kind of residential as well as small commercial buildings. Do anything from single room renovations to additions to residential, to new residential, to multifamily residential buildings, as well as commercial there with that. So we really kind of pride ourselves on the craftsmanship as well as the finishes, and we really kind of look to kind of help better the Lake Cook kind of county area here with some of our buildings that we've been able to put in the area.
That's fantastic. Well, someone has to build them, and it's great to see people building high-end products like Altounian. Now, you're the safety director. Can you explain a little bit about what your role is with Altoonian? What does that mean for the audience?
Yes. So really overall, we have about 80 craft, we specialize in a variety of different skills and trades here. We do anything from uh, our carpentry work to as well as our concrete foundations and floors with that. And I'm really just my role is to support them and making sure that we have everything that we need to be successful, to ensure that at the end of the day everyone is going home the way they started, and making sure that we're also putting up buildings in a safe manner that's not going to put anyone at risk there with that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, a really important role in construction, and it's great to see organizations like Altoonian, respect the safety standards and keeping everybody safe, and also building a great product. An incredibly important role, I think, in the construction industry. As you know, Wavelogix is all about sensor technology that helps you measure concrete strength in real time as the wet concrete is curing. And Altoonian has done a wonderful job of adopting our technology right now. What we wanted to focus on in this session and webinar today was kind of how that all came about, and maybe going back to the roots before you started using the WaveLogic sensor. What were you doing before for concrete strength?
So we were using cylinders, and we would pull anywhere between, depending on the project or depending on what we were pouring, anywhere between 4 to 6 cylinders, and then breaking them at nominal set times, and with that to get our strengths based back with that.
Yeah, was that the standard, like 137, 14, 28 days?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And are you bound by regulations for, let's say, certified strength, or is that something you can certify yourself?
Yeah. So everything with us would be contractual, right? So we would, I guess, if you're asking, like, we would send it off to a certified tester,
Yeah.
and actually that's who brought us this product, is our tester. He's the one that actually kind of brought this product to us because realizing the cost impact of doing all that testing and doing all those breaking that we'd have to do with that really being able to use this sensor here and kind of see the live progression with it is, and I know that's when I talked earlier, is actually ultimately kind of eliminated our need to do the concrete breaks, because we're able to utilize this to get our strength reports back.
Yeah, that's one of the nice benefits that we think we offer, is that you get actual real-time strength. Is that how you're using it? So how do you let's start from the beginning. How's the deployment of the sensor working for you? You're doing basically vertical construction, so how do you put it into the structure?
So we're using this for really anything that we're pouring with our concrete. So we're using this for our footings, our walls, our elevated or slab on grade, as well as any or elevated slabs there with that. So far, with our elevated slabs, we've just done it for cast in place. We do have some PT decks that are going to be probably coming up in our near future, utilizing it for that. So it's giving us, is allowing us to identify, making sure that our concrete is to proper strength as contractually required. It's been very beneficial for our slab on decks because it's helping us understand, when is it safe to remove our shoring underneath, or at least reduce our shoring in a safe manner that's not going to be putting our workers at risk by removing it too soon or too quickly, but also allowing us to, from kind of a cost standpoint, getting that shoring off is, in a quicker manner versus waiting, for a 28-day break or things like that to, get some of that stuff off site, but also allowing us to kind of quicken up our construction process as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So is that one of the benefits that you're seeing, is an increase in speed of operation, reducing your kind of time overall?
Yeah, I would say that. And then another aspect of it that's really been beneficial with this winter here is ensuring the quality of our product too. We've had some pretty cold spells here a couple weeks ago, and we had some concrete that were poured kind of right before that cold spell hit. And the benefit of the software is not only showing you the strength, but it's also showing you the temperature, both the ambient coming from the receiver as well as the internal coming from that sensor. And Brad, my counterpart here, who's also kind of been very involved with this, wasn't able to make it because he's on vacation, but we're kind of both watching it out live on the app on our mobile devices that night, and being able to see that temperature to ensure that we're not dipping below freezing there, and also watching that strength come up so that once we hit kind of, for us, 1,000 psi is kind of our what we want to at least get to know that we're going to survive the cold. Being able to see that continuously going up and surpass that, it just allows us to have guarantee a better product, right? Takes away a lot of those unknowns that you might have waiting for that that first break or that second break. And then also making sure that if those cylinders aren't stored properly or maintained properly, might lose some of that quality aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Ryan,
So
with it, oh, sorry, Joe.
Go ahead.
With a new product like this, sometimes it's like, at what point did you become a believer?
Really after our first project.
Really?
So we have one completed project because we went through the gamut with it, right? We did all of it, right? Between footings or walls, slab on grade, slab on deck. We were able to really kind of put this through the test there with that. I think overall, with that one job, if I were to look back on Wavelogix, I think we did over 20, close to 22, 25 sensors with it.
Yeah, you definitely put us through the test.
Yeah, just looking right now, 26 sensors in total with that. And the only issues we ever had was from kind of a learning curve from our end. It was more of we had one individual that wasn't plugging them in the way you should have been. Other than that, everything worked perfect, right? And I think once we got educated on just the proper installation of them, we've had no issues since with those.
That's great to hear. It's just for those who don't completely aren't familiar with our sensor, the sensor itself gets buried into the wet concrete, and it has a cable that comes out, and that gets plugged into the data logger, and the data logger energizes the sensor and then sends that data up to the cloud, and you get to see the real-time strength and real-time temperature both inside the structure and outside the structure, right on a dashboard on your cell phone or your desktop, which we think is kind of a sexy way to look at it. Prior to this, you were doing cylinder breaks, and you said you were using a third party to do the cylinder breaks?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And you always run the risk then of the cylinders not being made properly and getting the data when you need it. Like you're ready to do the next operation, right? And it's like, what's the strength look like? Can you get me the data? And even when they're supposed to in 7 days, you may not get it until 8 days. And that delays things as well. And nothing is worse than hearing from your third party testing house that the cylinder brakes were low, because now you don't know if your structure is bad or if they made the cylinders wrong. And of course, being in Chicago, like you just said, in weather and pouring concrete in the winter, there's a lot that can happen with those cylinders from the job site going back to the lab and breaking it. So our sensor is kind of third party agnostic, as we like to say. It performs the same duty. You can't fudge the results. Nobody can do it wrong. It's either going to give you strength or it's not going to give you strength, which makes it kind of nice. And I'm sure from a safety perspective, gives you a little bit more comfort that you have some control over the device. But that's got to be a game changer for you now to kind of sit back in your office and kind of watch strength growing all over your projects, right?
Oh, no, it definitely has been. It's actually become more of every morning, that's usually the first thing I'm doing. Is checking it, or I have usually even anytime I'm on the job, I have a, an iPad with the app, with your website drawn right up, so I can go right on it. And,
Yeah.
I always make sure that whenever we set the sensors that they are reading before, I leave and I walk away. And usually when I'm doing that, I'm checking whatever sensors else we have going on out there. And, it's been working pretty flawless so far with that. Once that sensor is connected, we've had no issues.
Oh, that's great. Now, do you actually put the sensors in yourself, or is that someone else's responsibility?
No, because we want to make sure that we're because we are, using this as our main source for testing our concrete. We're being very rigorous with, how we're doing it, so that it's getting documented correctly. It's getting, installed correctly. So I've been the sole person so far here that's been the, usually coordinates with the projects, knows when we have the concrete pours. I'm pretty mobile as is in general. And so when I'm out there, I'm usually the one setting up the sensors and connecting the data loggers to them.
Yeah, great. Now, have you completely eliminated cylinder breaks, or do you still do breaks in parallel with the sensor?
If we are using these, the sensors, we have eliminated the concrete breaks.
Oh, that's wonderful. And can you use our sensor to prove 28-day strength or certified strength? Are your customers allowing you to use the sensor for that?
Yes. Yep. And it's actually that's actually a part of our contract now. And so the nice thing with what you have with your system there is, we're able to basically export relatively easily, your reports and, include them to our customer when it kind of comes to turning over the building to them.
Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of cost savings? Have you been able to identify cost savings with using it?
For sure. We're actually just going through that now, that the first project we did was a design build. So now that we're kind of spreading this to our customers and venturing away from our design build, we're kind of coming up with, what does it cost here? And looking back historically, it's for us about $1,000 in total, for the third party to come and do the cylinders and do the brakes and everything with that. And so with what we have here, what we're using, you're looking at about $200, I believe, a sensor. And the data loggers are, as good as you keep them in good condition there, right? So, we're definitely seeing cost savings coming from this.
That's great. Now, I always get the question asked of me of like, well, how many sensors do I need to use on a project? How do I estimate that? Now that you've had a chance to do multiple projects on it, how are you seeing the use of, how many sensors you would actually need in your structures to give you good, accurate data?
We are typically doing with the square footage or the yards that we will pour. We will typically do 2 sensors a pour for our footings and our walls. I know for our slab on deck or cast in place, we did, I think, 3 because of the size. We were doing a pretty large deck, and so we wanted to do 1 on either end and 1 in the center, just to kind of give us a good, overall perspective of where we were with curing as the pour was going on, or as as the days went on with that. So it really, I think we try to always do at least 2 sensors at all time, just in case there is something that maybe gets damaged during the pour or something does go wrong. We have a backup, but it also does just kind of give us a little bit more better data, with it. But I'll tell you, I mean, if you look at the more recent ones that we've done with 2 sensors, I mean, they follow the trend line, really close together. So, I mean, the data is definitely pretty accurate. And then also with I think this has been a more recent update that I noticed with you actually adding the expected or anticipated breaks over the time, kind of gives you another trend line. So it really kind of shows, it's really kind of neat to see with how those play out with that trend line going up. And you can definitely see those anomalies, right? If something isn't going right or something is veering away, it definitely stands out really well with that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that came from our users, which we thought was incredibly helpful, is that, they some of the enhancements we've made over time for users who have used this for a long time. We used to have, if you had two sensors, you'd have two different charts for each sensor.
Hmm.
And finally someone said, "Why can't you put all the sensors on one chart?" And you're like, "Oh,
Yes.
that's a brilliant idea." So,
Yeah.
and you can really see how they track really close if you've got good consistent concrete that in that pour, and that's the whole idea that if there was something going awry, you'd see it. But then the next enhancement was someone said, "But it's just lines floating in space, and we don't know if it's good or bad. It's just a point, right?" And so we started having you add in that trend line or give us what your expected breaks are, and now it becomes a really powerful tool that you can see, is my concrete trending where it should be, because lo and behold, you kind of get that trend line from your ready mix producer. He's telling you, this is what I'm delivering you. This is what it should be that they've tested. And if it's not coming up to that, you want to know sooner than later, right?
Right.
Uh, yeah.
Yep.
Uh, do you leave the data loggers in place for the full 28 days, or do you plug them and unplug them? What's your process for this?
We usually leave the data loggers in until they hit the strength
Okay.
anticipated, which has been, I think we have one right now. And it's just shy of strength here, and it's probably about
Hmm.
9 days out. So we're going to
Okay.
wait until it hits strength, and then we'll pull them off. And then, at a later date, we'll plug them back in, just to
Okay.
verify that, see where it is. But I try to keep the loggers on throughout the entire duration until we at least hit that strength we're looking for.
Yeah.
Just so that, again, because it shows all those data points leading up to it. And then,
Yeah. Yeah.
and usually it's, the loggers are probably, they last the whole time that we need to. We're going on day 9 or 10 of one of them. And I think it's still at 50% battery, which is something nice too. You can see right on the screen,
Yeah.
where it's sitting and where it's at.
Mhm.
And so usually it'll get us to that point. We'll bring them in, we'll charge them. And then, as they free up from all their pores, we'll plug them back in, closer to that 28-day range, just to get the full perspective of it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that's a perfect way of doing it. We do have, in some areas where we have poor cell service, it has a tendency to drain the battery down faster because it's trying to make connections. And if it's not getting a good connection, and we typically expect about 14 to 20 days on a normal charge with good cell coverage, but it can be as low as 7. And I'm not certain if you're aware that we do have a battery extender, which doubles the length of time for the battery, and that is gets us strapped on. Have you used that product at all, or were you aware that it was available?
No, I was definitely, we've been aware of it, but we haven't had that issue at all. So no, that's
Okay,
something we haven't had to
good,
try yet.
good. And then we have, so to give you a perspective, the normal battery is a 3 amp hour battery in the data logger. We strap on the extra strap on is a 5 amp hour unit, and then we have a maxi battery that's 80 amp hours. So it can really go the distance. Those are really useful for customers that have a job site that's really far away, not really applicable to Altounian, but
Mhm.
where they want to leave it on for 28 days, but they don't want to go back and forth, plugging and playing and recharging. And,
Right.
it might be a 2 hour trip somewhere. So that does exist, that we've kind of hit up all those different aspects of, again, user feedback saying, we need something that we can really leave plugged in forever,
Mhm.
for a long period of time. So that's great to hear that you're getting, kind of what we designed in place. Um, any issues or problems that you've had that you'd love to see, or that hasn't worked well for you so far?
The only thing that we've come across, and I think we just, it was kind of more of a learning for us, was, the data loggers from the first project. We would just kind of leave them next to the pour. We either
Mhm.
zip tie it onto the form, or, kind of zip tie it somewhere very close to where the pour was. And, um, you don't realize how much splatter and how much of a mess that can be. So we've just replaced. We just got some new kind of loggers in here, and because the old ones definitely went through, the ringer, I would say.
Yeah.
And so one thing we're starting to do now with these is actually just kind of protect them better, right? So just bought some. We went to Home Depot and we got some little, some sealable containers, weatherproof containers, drilled a hole in it so we can have the cord coming in and out, just to, I think better protect the loggers than what we did the first time around, because they're durable. It's just our concrete crew really likes to push how durable they are.
Yeah. So that's interesting that you had mentioned that. So again, some of the feedback that has come from the field, we've come up with two solutions for exactly that problem. The first is a boot that we're working on, a rubber boot that would be placed around the data logger, that when it got yucky, you can just, it's a $5 boot, and just take that off and put another one on. It protects it well. And then the other one is a small little case, just like you had just talked about. It's a little ammo case that the data logger sits in, so it's protected from the elements. The cable and cord comes into it, and it's lockable, and it can be screwed down to the floor if you worry about someone stealing it. A lot of municipalities that use data loggers out in the the walkways in the neighborhoods, they're always more concerned about a neighbor coming by and going, "Oh, this looks nice. I think I'll take this home."
Right.
So that's a couple things that we've come up with that are will be protected. All of those items, Sue's working on getting those up on the website so you can see kind of the enhanced products that we have, different types of stakes and things. So that's good to see that you have that problem. We will say, from a customer service point of view, if your data logger gets too crudted up, we're willing to replace those for you, because we can refurbish them. So
I can attest to that.
Yeah. So it's easy enough for us to refurbish them, reshell them, take the shells off, and then put the guts back into a new fresh shell, while we're working on some of these solutions to kind of keep cleaner. That's great.
No, you guys have been great to work with, because I would say after the first job, 3 of ours were not working correctly, whether it was just the crud. I know there was some user error where someone was not putting the cord in, plugging in it correctly. I think we damaged it. And so those were things that you guys have jumped in, no problem, and, been able to, take care of us real well with those things and helped us out with those.
Hey, Ryan, I know your background is in construction and you've been in it for many years. Are there other areas that you could wished you had had something like this before to use on other projects you've worked on?
I mean, in general, I think this has been kind of a big game changer. I think if you think anything about just getting instant results versus waiting out the unknown, this has been, very helpful. I think looking back in my years and, all the concrete I've been a part of, I think this, this definitely would have sped up a lot of that process in the past.
That's great. Some of the enhancements that are also coming down the pipe right now, we're adding weather data to the dashboard, so you can see at a glance what the weather patterns are in the general area, and then we calculate also the evaporation rate, which maybe is not as important in your in vertical construction as it might be in maybe horizontal, where if the evaporation rate is high, that you have to cover some of the concrete to protect it from drawing off too much water. So that's coming online within the next month, I believe. If it hasn't already been there, you'll start to see that come up on the dashboard below the data. Also, the ability to set alerts that if the sensor isn't coming up to the expected strength, or it's off by a greater amount, you can get alerted or notice that, hey, there might be a problem. We also have we'll be adding in the predictive nature of our model. That after 3 days, we'll give you what a prediction of 28-day strength is going to be. So again, if we are seeing that you're not going to come up to strength, you might be able to do something sooner than later to mitigate the problems. I was talking with one contractor who was using our sensor, very similar to yours. He was building a foundation, and the foundation was so large that he had 23 trucks delivering concrete, and they had to switch. It was a large ready mix company, and they had to switch locations where the concrete was coming from. And lo and behold, something went wrong with that mix. And he ended up with low strength in a foundation that by the time he found out that it was low strength, he had already had two more floors put on the structure. And it was just a nightmare to try and replace it. They had to replace ultimately the part of that foundation and shore it up. And I mean, those are the things that keep you up late at night, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So those are kind of the fun things we have. You had mentioned reporting, that you kind of download the report. We have custom reporting coming up where you can kind of customize what you want of the data that would come out on a PDF with a form with your name on it, and look more like a report that you would give someone rather than just a copy of, let's say, what the strength curve looked like.
Yeah.
It's kind of embedded in there. So there'll be some fun things that I know our tech team would like to talk with you in the future on
Yeah,
as
no, I
well.
appreciate that. Those sound very helpful, actually. I know we do use the reporting or the notification for when it hits strength.
Okay,
Where,
yeah. So that's what we have
there's
in there
been,
right now. Yeah.
yep, there's been a couple pours where, they're more critical. So I think you can set it to different strengths where it'll send out an email saying,
Yeah.
when it hit and stuff. And it's kind of been helpful. I know, seeing
Which
those
is
come
great.
through on a Sunday, and it's like, all right, I know Monday we can, where we're going to be beforehand.
With all that. Yeah, it's using the technology today, we're getting spoiled, but that's what new advancements are. You don't have time to sit there and watch everything that's going on, and there's nothing like someone who's got your back to tell you when something's happening or there's a problem, right? Especially when you have multiple projects going on at one time or different areas. So hopefully this is, it will continue to be a great tool for you. Is there anything you would recommend to other customers of ours, others in your field to, you know, get on board with the with the sensor technology?
Honestly, I I think this has been a huge, a big benefit for us. This product itself has been kind of a game changer for us because it really has allowed us to just have a better idea, a better perspective. So I would definitely recommend any contractor that is doing any type of foundation or flat work or anything like that to really look at this because it's been really kind of a whole change in how we look at things. I was, kind of interested. We actually have one project here where because we're pretty busy right now, we actually subbed out the concrete. And I was out there putting the sensors out there today, and
Okay.
I think just kind of seeing their face was like, not recognizing that this stuff is out there, and being able to do this was,
Yeah.
they were taken back with, the ability of what we're
And then
able
you
to
can keep
do.
an eye on it.
Yeah.
Exactly, and we're going to keep an eye on their handiwork and what they got
Yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah. That's
So,
great.
Which is great. One of the things that we've heard from customers like yourself has been they're willing to share that data because we can have multiple people get on the dashboard, and so those that are interested, you have the ability to share that with your customer, with your subcontractor, with the ready mix supplier. The nice thing when you have data and you can view that data anywhere in the world, more people can get involved with the product. After you get over the initial shock of someone looking over your shoulder, we found most people are like, "Hey, that's really cool. Hey, this is really good. Now I can really see what I'm producing and delivering." And when they get confidence that what they're doing is actually right, and they can have a way of proving it, we found more people to get on board quicker with that. So that's great to hear. Well, we're kind of coming up on the end of our time allotment for this session. Any final words, Sue, from you?
Well, I would just like to say, Ryan, thank you for your time. You've been a big supporter of us, and it's really great to understand exactly how you're using the product. And thanks to everyone else for joining us today. We hope you're leaving with a clear picture of how Rebel can make your projects faster, safer, and more cost effective. If you'd like to explore a pilot or learn how Rebel could work for you, reach out to sales@wavelogix.tech. We appreciate your time and look forward to helping you build a smarter, stronger uh, infrastructure. And if you have any projects in Northern Illinois, please reach out to Altounian because they are your best bet. And thank you for joining us and being part of the future of concrete. And have a great rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you again in March.
Thanks, Ryan.
Joe?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having
Sounds
me.
great.
Thank you.